What's up everyone, this is First MG. So for today's video today, it's actually going to be a follow-up video that actually lasted on the GTX 1080 Ti versus the Drabaki video. I sort of took the issue a little bit step further and actually addressed the problem to KOG themselves, and their response is kind of the typical what you expect from them, and hopefully the word I actually give them will actually bring them up to their development team if they were to actually do it. But there are some problems behind that, and actually we will talk about that later in the video. From the reply, they said, I understand that there must be some difficulties in trying to get the game running smoothly because some factors. As of the moment, I'm afraid that we have yet to upgrade the set requirements of the game. Later, they actually concluded their responses by also saying, I'll make the note of your insight about raising the requirement and have this forward to our team for suggestion. There are several problems with that because people at KOG NA themselves can only do a certain amount of limits they can actually modify the game. KOG in the North American actually can only handle the management of the game and also monitoring the game's progress in terms of just canon community and just basically relaying the feedback that they get from us. And sometimes they'll actually bring the suggestion up to the people at KOG Studios at Korea because they're the ones actually responsible of managing anything that's going on for Elsword, if it's regarding any graphic updates or they actually were to change anything, any poses that they need to be some fixing and all. So there's actually a potential issue if one server / providers were actually to modify the files themselves, they would actually have to consult with the owner of the game, in this case going to be Nexon / KOG Korea, because they're the ones that actually handle the game. They have to run them through by them first in order to make those changes actually true, and then after that they actually have to distribute those files to all the servers actually hosting Elsword in order to keep everything uniform as possible, so that there is no incompatibility issues in the future. Having the exact same files will ensure a smoother update for almost all the servers if there are anything in regards if there's events or there's new classes or new skills. It will actually take them a while to go through that process, but there is a possibility to actually do that if they were to do it in the first place. Another major hurdle that KOG will have to face if they were to do all these upgrades to their game themselves is actually the game engine themselves, because that game engine has been almost the exact same thing since they first released the game, and then along the way they actually made some minor adjustments just to accommodate the new updates, such as like more fluid motion and some of the updated graphics that we've seen in the renewal system, which dates back around almost like a couple 3 or 4 years ago, ever since then that we actually got it. If KOG does decide to upgrade Elsword in terms of the game engine themselves, and let's say for example they want to transfer to Unreal Engine 4, the studio themselves will actually have to go through the trouble of transferring almost all the textures they have. Sometimes even the models themselves aren't really compatible with the newer engine. This will actually make KOG Studios themselves of having to rework / we actually create the entire new game out of it in order to successfully transfer it to one engine to another. And actually, who knows what actually will take, because sometimes remaking a game is probably an easy process, but for most of the time it's actually going to be a very difficult task, which actually will end up spending them almost about a year's worth of work just to remake the game in order to make it more compatible with those players that actually have the higher end rig. The actual player base themselves is another issue that the studio has to face, because they're dealing with a variety of people that actually have different PC specs. Some of them might have the higher end like I am right now, while some others in the lower end can actually afford such a good PC, so they actually have to resort to using really cheap computers or cheap laptops that actually aren't recommended specifications according to what they provide on the page. So the studio themselves will actually have to find a perfect balance of specifications in order to accommodate those two players together. There was one old problem that actually happened in the past, which actually led to the decision by KOG just to introduce frame rate caps in order to accommodate for both players. And this problem was actually the differences between refresh rates between monitors, because for those of you who actually can afford a 144Hz monitor, they're actually obviously the one able to get advantage in PvP because they can actually see the movement of their opponents a lot more sooner, versus those who actually have a 60Hz monitor, which is pretty standard for amongst most gamers out there, and they can't really see as much frames compared to those who actually have the 144Hz monitor. So in their screen, for those who actually have the 60 Hz monitor, they can see that the person can technically quote unquote teleport or actually have speed hacks, while those who are in the 144 Hz, they can actually see everything completely normal on their end. And that actually brings some imbalances issues between, for those players who are willing to spend that much money in order to get a much better gaming experience, and for those who actually can afford it, they want to try to enjoy the game as much as possible as is. And this actually led to the decision by KOG to introduce that frame rate cap to keep everything equal in terms of having in PvP, which is actually the most critical spot of them all, because frame rate actually does matter in terms of predicting where your enemy's going to be at, if your hit's going to actually hit them or not. And that's the only gripe about actually have the frame rates capped themselves, because we actually do want to enjoy the dungeons themselves uncapped, so we can get the best gaming experience as possible without having be hindered by the current cap for dungeons, which is 75 frames per second. And this capping is actually kind of cutting the experience for Elsword, because most of the games I play actually is 144 Hz, and already the game looks very smooth. And with Elsword with the 85 cap right now, it's actually hindering the experience, and I can't really enjoy the game as much as I thought it would be. So if KOG were to release the cap in terms of frames in dungeons, I think no one would mind that, because that won't actually create any balance issues, and it's probably going to be a little easy fix for them if they just to get the most experience out of the game that we do expect from those who actually can afford such a higher end rig. So that will actually be all for today. If you guys have any comments and terms regarding this topic, or you want us to bring something up for the community or you can always drop down a comment down below in the video, and I'll be happy to bring that discussion to you. Either if you want to talk it with terms of comments, reply in that format, or actually bring the entire community together, discuss that specific topic, and then try to get some community engagement, get some meaningful discussions or some critiques in terms of challenging people's ideology and such in terms of the game's graphics and potential future upgrades in the future. I do look forward to see those comments, and I'll try to reply to them as much as possible in terms of my busy schedule, and I'll do look forward to them. I'll see you guys in the next video.